Meadowview Heights, a suburban neighborhood in Aurora, Colorado, where tidy bungalows and cul-de-sacs nestled against the backdrop of the high plains. The community prided itself on its family-friendly vibe, with block parties, kids biking to school, and a small but beloved local attraction, Joyland, a modest amusement park just beyond the neighborhood's edge. Joyland was a throwback to simpler times, a carousel, a rickety roller coaster called the Thunderbolt, bumper cars, and a Ferris wheel that offered views of distant Denver skyscrapers. The park, owned by a local family for generations, was a cherished escape. But its aging rides and occasional maintenance issues drew the ire of Meadowview's domineering HOA. Maya Patel, a 40-year-old structural engineer and mother of 3, had moved to Meadowview Heights 2 years prior, drawn by its proximity to her job at a Denver engineering firm and the promise of a tight-knit community for her kids, aged 8, 12, and 15. Her modern 2-story home, adorned with solar panels and a xeriscaped front yard, stood out slightly among the HOA-mandated green lawns. Maya's career involved inspecting bridges and buildings for safety, a role that honed her eye for detail and her intolerance for cutting corners. She volunteered at Joyland on weekends, helping with minor repairs and teaching her kids about mechanics, fostering their love for the park's nostalgic charm. The Meadowview Heights HOA was led by Cynthia Whitaker, a 55-year-old former real estate agent with a penchant for power and a clipboard always at the ready. Cindy treated the neighborhood like her personal fiefdom, issuing fines for unapproved flower beds, excessive Halloween decorations, or mailboxes that deviated from her approved shade of charcoal gray. Her obsession extended to Joyland, which she viewed as a blight on property values. "That noisy, outdated eyesore attracts riffraff," she'd rant at HOA meetings, ignoring the park's role in local jobs and memories. Cindy had long pressured the park's owners, the Thompson family, to sell to developers, envisioning luxury condos in its place. Trouble brewed when Maya noticed a slight wobble in the Thunderbolt roller coaster during a routine volunteer check. Her engineer's instincts flared. She flagged the issue to Joyland's manager, Tom Thompson, recommending a full inspection of the ride's track supports. Tom, strapped for cash due to declining attendance, promised to address it but needed time to secure funds. Maya offered to draft a grant proposal for state preservation funds, citing Joyland's historical value. But Cindy caught wind of the maintenance issue, through a neighbor-ass complaint about creaky noises, and saw her chance to strike. Without consulting the Thompsons or the community, Cindy organized a fiery HOA campaign, rallying residents with flyers claiming Joyland was a death trap that endangered children. She filed complaints with the city, exaggerating the park's condition to push for its closure. At a packed HOA meeting in the community center, Cindy stood at a podium, brandishing photos of rusty bolts and faded paint. "This park is a lawsuit waiting to happen," she declared, demanding a boycott until it was demolished. Maya, in the audience, tried to interject, explaining the issue was minor and fixable, but Cindy cut her off, accusing her of colluding with negligent owners. Emboldened by her crusade, Cindy took matters into her own hands. Late one night, under the guise of documenting violations, she trespassed onto Joyland's grounds with a crowbar, intent on loosening a few bolts on the Thunderbolt to stage a safety failure for inspectors. Her plan backfired horribly. In her haste, she damaged a critical support beam, weakening the track's stability. The next morning, during a routine test run with no passengers, the Thunderbolt derailed mid-loop, its cars crashing into a maintenance shed. Sparks flew, igniting a pile of dry lumber nearby. A fire erupted, engulfing the shed and spreading to the carousel. Black smoke billowed, visible from Meadowview's homes, as sirens wailed and families watched in horror. Maya, alerted by her eldest daughter's frantic texts, raced to Joyland. Her training kicked in. She coordinated with firefighters, providing a quick sketch of the park's layout and identifying water shutoff valves to aid their efforts. The blaze was contained, but the damage was severe. The Thunderbolt was a twisted wreck, the carousel reduced to charred horses, and half the park's midway was scorched. The Thompsons faced millions in losses, and Joyland closed indefinitely, laying off 50 workers and crushing the community's spirit. Rumors swirled about sabotage, fueled by security footage showing a figure in a hooded jacket near the ride hours before the crash. Suspicion fell on Cindy when a neighbor reported seeing her golf cart near Joyland that night. Maya, piecing together the timeline, confronted her at an emergency town hall. You were there, Cindy.
What did you do?
She demanded, holding up a photo from the footage. Cindy's face flushed as she stammered, I was protecting our property values. But her defense crumbled when Maya presented her findings, a structural analysis showing deliberate tampering with the beam, corroborated by metal shavings found at the scene. She'd consulted a colleague at the state's Amusement Ride Safety Board, who confirmed the damage was no accident. The room erupted. Neighbors, furious at the loss of their beloved park, turned on Cindy. Parents whose kids had grown up on Joyland's rides shouted about lost memories. Workers who'd lost jobs shared stories of financial hardship. The city launched an investigation, and police arrested Cindy for vandalism and reckless endangerment. At trial, Maya testified as an expert, her diagrams and testimony damning. The derailment was caused by intentional weakening of a load-bearing support, risking lives. Cindy, defiant to the end, claimed she was saving the neighborhood. But the evidence was overwhelming. She was convicted, sentenced to 5 years in prison, and ordered to pay restitution that left her finances in ruins. The HOA imploded. Cindy's fines, for everything from unapproved yard gnomes to excessive porch plants, were rescinded. Residents, fed up with her tyranny, voted to dissolve the HOA entirely, replacing it with the Meadowview Unity Council, a voluntary group focused on community projects. Maya led the charge, securing grants to rebuild Joyland. The park reopened a year later with a safer, modernized Thunderbolt, a restored carousel, and new green spaces funded by community donations. The Unity Council hosted festivals there, with free rides for kids and job fairs for locals. A surprising twist emerged during the rebuild. Maya discovered that her late grandfather, a carpenter, had helped build Joyland's original carousel in the 1950s. His initials were carved into a hidden panel, uncovered during restoration. This personal connection deepened her resolve, turning her fight into a legacy. Cindy's former allies, shamed by their silence, joined the effort, planting trees and painting murals. The park's reopening drew thousands, its Ferris wheel spinning proudly against the sunset. Maya, watching her kids laugh on the bumper cars, reflected on the disaster. It wasn't just about saving Joyland. It was about dismantling control and rebuilding trust. Meadowview Heights became a true community where joy, not rules, defined its heart.